First thing I'd like to do is introduce Dr. Gerhard Kuska, who is the Executive Director of MARACOOS, and he is going to give an overview of some of those tools and expertise. So, Gerhard?
Thank you, Josh. So thank you for coming, first of all. We're really happy to be able to partner with BPU and with Rutgers to help put on this workshop. It's an important part of what we do, and I know there must be a clicker here to advance these things. So for those of you that know a little bit or a lot about MARACOOS, you're going to recognize some of this stuff, and hopefully it'll be consistent with what you know, and if you happen to learn something new, then yay for my talk. For those of you that don't know MARACOOS, I just want to say, just spend a few minutes telling you what we do, why it's important, and how what we do brings together a lot of the work you've seen this morning and stuff that's happening behind the scenes elsewhere. So MARACOOS, you heard Scott and others and Josh refer to the Mid-Atlantic Regional Association Coastal Ocean Observing System. We are part of this unfortunate acronym soup that government sometimes creates. Let's see if I do this right. And the Integrated Ocean Observing System, for those who don't know, is a national level effort that feeds into a global effort. The international component you can see there, which under the auspices of UNESCO, out of Paris, the Global Ocean Observing System. We won't talk about that. Let's focus on the national level. There are 11 regions, and the idea of this was established in law as an effort to bring together all the government agencies that collect oceanographic data, and there's a lot of them, but also form a bridge to the public, with the public-private sector through public-private partnerships. So these 11 regions were created, and you can see us over here in the Mid-Atlantic here, wedged between the Northeast and the Southeast, and we form a partnership of universities, academic institutions and research institutions, but also government at state, local, and federal level, and private sector organizations, as well as nonprofits. You can see the federal agencies, partners the 17 that make up the national federal part of IUS, and it is stewarded by, I'll use that word, as the steward of this interagency partnership is NOAA. And so they're the ones that provide us with seed funding. We are a little bit different in that we are a nonprofit organization. So while we're affiliated with these institutions, like Rutgers, who is an important founding partner of this partnership, we are an independent entity, and we represent the entire region. So from Cape Cod to Cape Hatteras, as was alluded to before, which is roughly 600 miles, if you don't include all the waterways and estuaries, we have a quarter of U.S. population. So there's a lot going on here. New Jersey, right in the middle of all of it. I'm going to talk about what certification means in a moment, but we collect some data, we leverage other pieces of data from other partners, and we make sure it's all quality controlled. We make sure that it meets federal standards for data so that you know that what you're getting is of the same quality that you would from the feds. So that's pretty good. But we make it available in standard formats, and that's what's important to people that use the data, that know how to use the data, or others that will access it through either a portal or through one of the products that it serves, whether it's a private sector product or whether it's a product that comes from the federal government. So I mentioned, you've seen this logo maybe on some other slides, certification. This was an effort that was started by the federal government to ensure that that which we are providing meets federal standards, so that when people, whoever they are, whether it's an academic researcher, whether it's the federal government, another agency, there's a lot of folks making products that are being used, forecasts and that sort of thing, that when they come to us, they are assured that the data they're getting is of federal quality. So you say, well, okay, that's just a stamp. It's more than a stamp. In fact, the federal government has given us tort liability coverage. That means if a ship were to ground and there'd be some sort of a lawsuit and losses and things like that, God forbid, we hope that doesn't happen, but if they was and they came and said, hey, we used your data and made a bad, and it was bad data, or NOAA is so confident in the quality of the data, they will take over the lawsuit. So we have no legal liability in situations where where folks are using our data. So that's a real strong commitment by the federal government to the quality of the data we're providing. So data with purpose is one of our taglines because everything we do is tied to users like yourselves. whether it's in maritime safety, whether it's in fisheries, whether it's in water quality, coastal hazards, or offshore energy, wind energy, as we're talking about today. We've talked about some of the platforms: satellites, receiving stations, high-frequency radar, one of the most developed high-frequency radar networks in the country, never mind the world. There are buoys that are that we participate in supporting operation in the Chesapeake Bay. We have our modeling, drifters, the gliders we spoke about as well, which are an important component and one of the pillars that we operate under, and then weather stations as well. So why is getting together important? Things like this, workshops like this, are important for us, not because we necessarily want to tell you how awesome we are, but really because we want to hear from you. We want to understand to make sure that not only that work we're doing is focused on the things that you care about, that are important to the communities that we serve, but also so that we can trumpet that as a megaphone to the folks we deal with in D.C. and in state capitals. We want to make sure they understand that what the needs are so that they continue to support the work that will serve your requirements. So you can see, instead of making something and saying, okay, who can we sell it to, we want to start by first understanding what it is you need and then seeing how we can tailor something to create. Now, we don't have to create everything, so when you get to this bottom product decision tools, we will make simplified versions, and we're working on one of the tools I'll show you, or I'll allude to in a moment, Oceans Map. We're looking for simplified ways or instances, tailored instances for specific users. But anything that goes beyond that, we are happy to serve private sector or government to make sure that they can put the products out there. We're a nonprofit. We're not trying to make money. Everything we do is available for free and in standard formats. So, Peter, I think, asked before, so what happens during a storm? Where are you guys? Are you hiding somewhere in a bunker, everything? Actually, long before the storm ever gets close to us, when it's just a little swirling depression somewhere in the Caribbean, or not even in the Caribbean, we're already paying attention. We're already talking to the head of the National Weather Service, who we're fortunate enough to know, but also to the people that are doing the models, the ocean models, which we primarily are serving. Now, we're not responsible for the hurricane forecast. That's the National Hurricane Centers we talked about. But the model that underpins that, the ocean that we talked about, why that's important, that is served by the data we produce, as well as others. And so we partner, not just as, because hurricanes don't just happen in the Mid-Atlantic. They happen in the Caribbean, they happen in the Gulf, they happen in the Southeast, and they impact a lot of different areas. We work together with all of them and serve, and that's the head of the National Weather Service right there, Dr. Ludo Cellini. You can see some of us down there, Scott and Travis and others down at the National Hurricane Center. So we're talking to these people, making sure we understand how they're using the data. And in some cases, as we speak, we have been working for years, and Scott alluded to, working with them to help them improve their model, show them how the data can help improve their model so that ultimately their hurricane forecast is better. So I talked about Oceans Map. That is our viewer. That is, and we don't have time to do a demo here, but we can show you the access to that. Provides some very basic tools to take data sets in and visualize them in a very simplified way, click them on and off. You can take them on a slider, you can compare them, you can take currents, you can take winds, you can put them all in one thing and then run that slider back and forth through time. It's a great simplified tool, and we're looking for ways to serve the community better by either creating some tailored versions that would help you and others, or making sure that we communicate the needs you have, if they're more tailored or more complicated, to the government or private sector who may want to create tools as well. So with that, thank you for taking the time to come here and speak with us. We look forward to the ongoing discussions. And today is just one step. We don't want everyone to go away. We want to make sure that these discussions continue. And so I'll introduce Mike Crowley, who's our technical director. Wave. Mary Ford, who's sitting back there in the yellow sweater, who's our director of engagement and external relations. Katie, who's in the back, who actually does all the work, actually. So we wouldn't be able to survive without Katie, who's our program assistant. And actually here locally, as part of our engagement team, Dr. Josh Kohut, who you already know, is our MARACOOS liaison for New Jersey and for offshore wind. So I can't say that I haven't mentioned everybody. We have board members here too, Scott Glenn, Bill Boycourt, and former board member Wendell Brown. Some of you are involved, some of you haven't been involved, but it is a large family, and we are only as good as the folks that participate. And so we have the best expertise coming together through venues like this, through ongoing calls where we're talking all the time. And so we're on the phone, Peter, before the storm ever comes. And yeah, we don't want anyone in harm's way, but we get equipment out there where we need to. We respond sometimes on short notice if, in fact, during Sandy, I think it was, that the head of the National Weather Service said, yeah, it'd be really great if you could get another glider out there. We actually didn't even have it planned to do. Today we're a little bit better prepared than we were back then in 2012. But we did get a glider out ahead of time, ahead of the storm. And so we're following these things along the way and not just learning and providing data to government agencies and others, but also taking that hindsight and helping them improve those forecasts for the future. So with that, thank you very much.